good YouTube? I'm back again with another video, and today I will be teaching you guys how to ollie. It's a very beginner trick and one of the very first tricks you should learn when starting to skateboard. It took me about a year to learn how to ollie. The ollie is actually one of the basic fundamental tricks of skateboarding. Motion is used for a lot of more advanced tricks like kick flips and heel flips. Nonetheless, it is still quite hard. It took me about a year to learn and understand the physics behind an ollie. I'll be dividing the steps of an ollie into 3 different segments. Firstly, the pop, the sliding of the front foot, and lastly, the landing. But first of all, I'll just have to warm up first. So yeah, let's go. Alright, let's get into the steps of how to ollie. Alright, the first step of how to ollie is the popping. It's basically just you popping the tail down onto the ground to get it to go upwards. For an ollie, my foot position would be something like this. My front foot would be along this line here, and my back foot would be here. Like the ball of my back foot right here would be straight at the tail, right at the center of the tail right here. And how it helps is that the back foot being in the center of the tail means that you would be able to pop down vertically straight down to get maximum pop. Now the first step of getting the pop right is to practice just doing this. Now if you don't know what I'm doing, I'm actually just training my foot to pop down, just repeatedly training my back foot to be able to pop down with enough strength to actually sort of lift the board upwards. One thing to take note of is that, and this is something I noticed with a lot of beginners who are struggling how to ollie, is that they are moving their entire heel downwards like this. Now what this actually does is that since your whole foot is going down, it reduces how fast you pop, which thus reduces how strong you pop. And also, when you move your entire foot down, it gives very little time for your foot to move all the way upwards to get out of the way and allow the board to go up. So what you're actually supposed to do is you should be using your toes to just sort of flick downwards. And notice that my heels don't actually move down, they stay at the same place when I'm popping it down. And what this does, it actually allows your heel to have enough time to get out of the way and allow the board to pop upwards. Now I know popping with only your toes may seem difficult at first, but over time you will actually gain the calf strength to actually, pop the entire thing down with only your toes. For me, every session I did like 50 of those just to get the feeling right, sort of get my legs used to how I'm supposed to pop downwards. I'll repeat it again right here. All I'm doing is just this. See how after I pop, I actually move my entire leg up immediately. That's one of the key things to take note of when you're actually going for the popping. Now the next step of how to ollie is the sliding of your front foot. Once again, I'll show you my foot positioning. It would look something like this. So now what I'm doing with my front foot is I'm turning it this way and sliding it up the nose. And once you reach the nose, you actually push forward, which allows the board to level out. Because without you sliding your front foot, your board will just be rocketed and your ollies won't go very high. The additional sliding of your front foot actually helps to raise your board even higher. So it should look something like this, just like that. One more key thing to note is that you should always bend your ankle this way when you're doing your ollie. See this motion right here, and this bending of the ankle is very important. And what this does is it obviously helps to grip the board better, and also helps with board control, because the entire shoe on your grip tape, it allows more of your foot to be able to control how the board moves. So yeah, that definitely helps with board control. And if you're having trouble turning your ankles that way, what I suggest you do is do these ankle stretcher exercises, where you just do this and hold it for like 10 seconds. And what it does, it stretches your muscles and your tendons to actually be able to, you know, move that way. In terms of how you move your foot up the board, I would just recommend imagining a horizontal line just straight across in the middle of the board, and just move your shoe straight up to the board until like around here. And the motion would just be diagonally this way until you reach here. And after that is the more important part is actually leveling out, because if you only slide diagonally, your board will still be rocket, right? And the ollie won't be so clean. So after you slide diagonally this way, what you want to do is kick out that way. So what it does, it actually pushes the board this way and it levels out the board. So yeah, that's one key thing you should take note of, is the motion should be like that, kick out that way. And that's basically the steps of how to slide your foot up the board. It's quite simple actually. What I do notice for some people is that when they try to ollie, right, they sort of either slide too early or slide too late. And I'll give some solutions for some of these problems. If you're sliding too early, what you should do is that you should actually wait until you hear the pop. So you wait until you hear this, and then you start moving your foot forward. And that's if you're sliding too early. And if you're sliding too late, then just slide early, I guess. Just pretty much all there is to it, finding that sweet spot and just doing that over and over again to just build that muscle memory. And if you try to ollie and you got the pop down, the sliding's okay, but your board just doesn't level out, what you should do is that try to like deliberately kick the board out that way, because sometimes, you know, the board's quite heavy, and if you try to exaggerate it that way, it might just end up leveling out, and that's what you want with an ollie. And sometimes people say that when they're sliding their foot up the board may turn a bit. And what I would recommend if that happens is get your foot more forward into the board. Like instead of your foot being here, which is your typical kickflip foot positioning, slide it forward like that. And what this does is you have more shoe on the grip tape, so it prevents the board from spinning and like rotating this way. And that's pretty much what you have to take note of when sliding your front foot up the grip tape. And finally, the third step is just landing. Now, it may seem simple at first, but there are a lot of problems when it comes to landing. One common problem that people face is just the fear of committing to the trick and landing it. Obviously, there's a risk of the board slipping out and you falling. So what I would recommend you to do first is, if you're still unsure about whether or not you can land bolts, you can try holding on to like a handlebar or a pole to just get the hang of landing cleanly. And yeah, like I said, you should try to be able to control your center of gravity throughout the entire trick, because that actually helps with you regaining balance, being able to deliberately shift your weight distribution mid-air actually helps if, for example, you're ollieing down a stair set and maybe your pop wasn't right, but you're able to land it if you sort of maybe shift your weight distribution maybe to the nose or more to the tail. It helps if overall ensuring your balance. Finally, the actual process of landing it, right? What you should do is, once the wheels actually touch the ground and your foot's on the board, bend your knees. That's very important because it helps with many reasons actually. The first reason is that obviously it's good for your knees. Over time, if you're having like a very long session, it actually reduces strains on your knees, because when you're bending it, obviously there's less impact and your legs sort of absorb more of the impact. Another reason why you should bend your knees is that it helps you actually stay on the board more. When you bend your knees, more of the force is absorbed, right? So you're less likely to bounce off the board. And this is very applicable when you're like ollieing down a 5-stair or anywhere high. Your foot needs to absorb a lot of the impact and not fall off. So that's why, like, if you see a lot of pro skaters ollieing down a large gap, they always end up pretty much crouching onto their board once they land. The thing you can do to absorb impact is just maybe get additional insoles. See, I added these red insoles into my shoe, and that also helps to absorb impact. It's not a lot, but it does do something, especially when you're taking your board down stairs and stuff. It helps to just cushion your landing. So yeah, that's basically it. You just need to remember the 3 steps: the pop, the sliding of the front foot, and the landing. So that's basically the steps and the tips I can give you on how to ollie. Just remember that when you're popping, the heels don't go down. When you're sliding, entire foot moves up, bend your ankle, and when you're landing, bend your knees. That's pretty much all there is to it for ollieing. So good luck. One thing I can say is that it's not gonna be easy. Ollieing, it took me forever to learn how to ollie, just the timing and everything. It took me 6 months to even get my board off the ground, and another 6 months to actually level out. So it takes practice. Don't give up. Just try to ride your board every day consistently. Practice ollieing, because consistency is absolutely key when it comes to skateboarding, because you can't just land a trick once and expect yourself to be able to land it the next try. That's not how it works. Once you've landed your ollie, do it again, do it again, do it again. And especially after you landed an ollie, that foot movement is fresh in your mind. Do it again to just like lock it in, repeat it like 10-15 more times. And that helps in the long runs, because sometimes when you're filming lines or tricks that involve popping, like kick flips and stuff, sometimes you don't even pay attention to the pop, you just do it. That's actually your muscle memory in play. So yeah, make sure to repeat the ollie multiple times a day. Just every session do like 50 attempts of an ollie, and every session just try to get it cleaner and cleaner, and over time you will get better, trust me. So anyways, I'm gonna get a couple more tricks in, so yeah, enjoy the rest of the video. Peace.